We begin tonight by drawing the curtains on the ordinary world, fellow investigators, and stepping back into the deep, humid shadows of Brazil, 1966. Imagine the air thick with the scent of tropical rain and decay, high atop a remote, rocky incline known as Morro do Vintém, overlooking the sprawling city of Niterói. Close your eyes and listen to the sound of the wind whipping the palm fronds, the pindoba leaves, specifically, which played their own silent role in this macabre stage setting. This is where one of the most exquisite and frustrating mysteries of the modern era unfolded, a case that resists all logical conclusions, the lead mask's mystery. The date was August 20th, 1966. A boy, Jorge da Costa Alves, only 18 years old, was up on that hill. Some say he was hunting birds. Others say he was chasing his fallen kite, carried away by the strong, unpredictable winds. What he stumbled upon was not a kite string or a quarry, but a scene of absolute, unsettling stillness. Two men lay side by side. They were dressed meticulously, as if prepared for a serious business meeting or a solemn pilgrimage. Both wore full suits, covered by heavy waterproof coats. They lay upon those strange pindoba leaves. And here is the image that burns into the historical record, the image that drew us all together tonight. Covering their eyes were two strange, crudely fashioned masks. Not full face coverings, but thick, hand-cut eye shields made of lead. The boy rushed down the muddy slope, alarmed. But the heavy rain, which had been falling for days, complicated everything. The police delayed their ascent, and when they finally arrived on the 21st, the bodies of Manoel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel José Viana were already in an advanced state of decomposition. This delay, this simple matter of weather and bureaucratic slowness, would poison the entire investigation, making any search for toxins nearly impossible. Manoel, 32, and Miguel, 34, were friends and colleagues, both technical experts in electronics from Campos dos Goitacazes, 200 miles away. They had told their wives a plausible story. They were going to Sao Paulo to buy electronic components and perhaps a used car. They left home with a considerable sum of money for the time, 2,300,000 cruzeiros. But they never reached Sao Paulo. They stopped in Niterói. The evidence collected at the site only deepened the mystery. Beside the men were a packet containing 2 towels and an empty bottle of magnesium mineral water. Witnesses recalled they bought raincoats, but never put them on. Miguel, we hear, was nervous and agitated, checking his watch constantly, as if keeping a specific, terrifying appointment. Then there was the note. Found in one man's pocket, this scribbled fragment of instruction became the heart of the enigma, the only voice speaking from the quiet hillside. It read, for 30 p.m. be at the agreed place. 6:30 p.m. ingest capsules. After effect protect metals weight for signal mask. This cryptic message immediately suggested ritual. The word capsules implies a chemical agent, perhaps a hallucinogen like LSD, which was in high circulation in 1960s, used to induce an altered state of consciousness. The instruction to protect metals led investigators to the chilling idea that Manoel and Miguel had purposefully removed their watches and rings before the appointed time, leaving them in a separate bag. But protection from what? The 1960s was a fascinating time in Brazil, particularly in the realm of the unexplained. The space race was booming, fueling imaginations worldwide. In Brazil, spiritism was not fringe. It was deeply ingrained, and technical knowledge often intersected with esoteric belief. Manoel and Miguel, as electronics technicians who understood radio frequencies and antennas, were perfectly positioned to believe that technology could bridge the gap between worlds. They were known to be interested in ufology and spirit communication. They were part of a scientific spiritualist group, according to an acquaintance named Elcio Correa Gomez. This cultural backdrop birthed the wildest theories. They were attempting psychic contact, using their technical knowledge to capture signals from other planets. The lead masks, typically used for protection against radiation, were meant to shield their eyes from the expected flash of light or energy, the blinding revelation of a cosmic visitation. Eyewitness accounts seem to corroborate this extraordinary possibility. Gracinda Barbosa Coutinho de Souza and her children reported seeing a large, rounded object, colored orange with a bright red circle, hovering over Morro do Vintém around the time of the men's supposed death on August 17th. Yet, the investigative truth was far more pedestrian and far more painful. Skeptics and police like Detective Saulo Soares, who worked tirelessly on the case, insisted on rational explanations, pushing back against the Martians and the lunatics. The biggest clue pointing toward earthly crime was the missing 2,300,000 cruzeiros. Only 157,000 cruzeiros were found in the men's pockets. The rest was gone. The most prevalent skeptical interpretation, shared by many investigators, is that this was a well-staged latrocinium, a robbery resulting in death. The men were likely manipulated by a charlatan, a spiritual guide or guru, who knew of their spiritual hunger and the large sum of cash they carried. They were lured to the remote location under the guise of an experiment or a ritual, perhaps instructed to take a poison they believed was an ascension capsule. This theory gained weight when Detective Saulo Soares discovered a 2-hour gap in the men's timeline in Niterói, suggesting they may have met someone at a pseudo-religious center on their way to the hill. This potential leader, possibly known to authorities at the time, may have enjoyed political protection, leading to the abrupt archiving of the case in 1969. Saulo Soares himself felt intense pressure from superiors to drop the investigation, sensing powerful figures were being disturbed by his digging. The sheer negligence of the investigation remains appalling. The bodies were left exposed for days. When autopsies were finally ordered, the advanced state of decay, coupled with massive amounts of formaldehyde used to preserve the bodies, made toxicology nearly useless. Adding to this chaos, records indicate that the vital organs for testing rotted in a broken refrigerator or were carelessly discarded. Any chance of identifying the substance in the capsules was lost forever. But even earthly theories struggle to explain the unsettling patterns around the bodies. Why was the soil around them calcinated, burned black, so that vegetation refused to grow for years afterward? This detail haunts the purely criminal interpretation, hinting at immense, localized energy. And the case does not exist in isolation. It hints at a frightening recurring pattern. 4 years earlier, in 1962, another television technician named Hermes was found dead on a hill nearby, also wearing a lead mask, his death unsolved. And 20 years later, in 1986, 2 friends from a ufological study group were found dead in Gramari, another isolated beach, also without signs of violence, likely poisoned. When the investigative documents were sought years later by a documentary crew, the entire case file was found to be empty, destroyed, lost, or simply vanished. The case had become unfinishable. So we are left standing where the investigative team stood in 1966, looking out over the humid, silent landscape of Morro do Vintém. Was this the work of a financial predator who exploited 2 men's naive faith in interdimensional contact? Was it a desperate act of ritual suicide, a pact between 2 true believers convinced they were leaving their earthbound bodies for a rendezvous with cosmic consciousness? Or did Manoel and Miguel indeed keep an appointment with something utterly outside of our current understanding, something that required protective lead shielding and left behind only the chilling quiet of a perfectly executed, if incomplete, ceremony? The masks shield the answer, and the vanished money offers a terrible final irony. We may never solve the cold equation of this mystery, but we must ask, fellow investigators, if the enduring power of the lead mask case lies not in determining who they were waiting for, but rather in asking ourselves what signal we are still waiting for, decades later, when we stare into the vast, silent unknown. This concludes today's episode of Investigations of the Unknown. I'm Mr. W, and I hope our exploration has sparked your curiosity about what lies beyond the veil of reality. Until we meet again, stay curious, stay vigilant, and never stop questioning the unknown.